Should you buy the new Medieval Town Square? Well, it's a little bit complicated, so let's get into it. The set comes in at $230 and comes with 3,304 pieces and 8 minifigures. 6 of those minifigs are brand new to the set, and I gave my full thoughts on them in another video that you can check out after this one if you'd like. But for the sake of this review, we'll just take a brief look at them. The standouts of the minifigs are definitely the new Wolfpack Marauder and the Tax Collector. The new Wolfpack fig is just about everything I could have ever wanted out of a remake, except for the fact that he just doesn't come with a new leg print. The plain dark gray legs just don't quite do it for me, but the Tax Collector has 2 new prints both on the torso and the legs, and they are perfect. It is seriously one of the best non-knight related medieval figs that we have gotten in a very long time. The other 4 new figs are also great with new torso prints all around, and give people a ton of new parts to make custom figs with. Again, some new leg prints would have gone a long way here, but honestly, the figs look great either way. My favorite of the new peasant torsos is definitely this olive green one that I used to make a custom adventurer fig. And to round off the minifigure section of this review, here are all of the animals that you get in the set. You have red and blue birds, a dark orange squirrel, a white kitten, and of course the infamous goat, this time in dark bluish gray. I saw some people say that they were slightly disappointed that the goat was in dark gray, but it looks way better in person compared to the pictures that I've seen online. Here it is next to the white goat from the recent CMF for those curious. I like that they made the horns tan on this one to give it a little bit more difference compared to the white one. The big elephant in the room though is that this set should have absolutely come with more animals. Getting just one farm animal in this set does feel really silly, I'm not gonna lie to you. A couple of chickens, a recolor of the cow, and a horse would have gone a long way to giving more value to this set. I've seen multiple people say that they would be way more likely to buy this set if it was more generous with its included animals. Sure, some people already have a wide collection of animals from previous sets that they have, but for new fans of the theme, they will be stuck with a medieval village that just has one goat. This doesn't ruin the set for me by any means, but I really would have loved to see a cow and a couple of chickens or pigs included here. Okay, so moving on, let's talk about the actual build itself. We'll start with the buildings on the left. In this section, we have a weaver's workshop, a carpenter's workshop, and a farmhouse. The exterior of these 3 buildings is a bit of a mixed bag, to be honest. The weaver's workshop is definitely my favorite of the 3, so let's start with that. It's got some really nice white and black walls with a slight accent of dark red on its windows. And the dark brown thatched roof looks really nice here, and the window popping through does enough to break up that pattern of the design. I am such a fan of these thatched roofs that first came out in the Lion Knight's castle. It was a really great design choice. The brick built door also looks super nice here. The other 3 doors in this set are all pre-molded ones, and honestly this green brick one is probably my favorite of all of them. Around the left side of the workshop there is this lovely little garden with radishes, carrots, and pumpkins all growing alongside a bee apiary. I love it. Moving now to the interior, we've got a lovely orange and brown floor with a beautiful stickered tapestry. This tapestry is a reference to 2 classic LEGO castle sets, the Yellow Castle and the Knights Tournament. It is also a reference to an older LEGO castle catalog that you can see here. Now you may have noticed that I actually misplaced my sticker, but I did it intentionally. In the instructions, you are meant to place this sticker so that the bottom of the sticker is closest to the bar. I've swapped it around so that you can actually use this as an actual tapestry in the mock. It honestly doesn't make much sense to me why they would want you to place this sticker the other way, because you can still display this tapestry on the loom in the set by just placing it in between a couple of studs. Either way, I love this sticker a ton, but it is a massive shame that this isn't a printed element. But we'll talk more about these stickers in this set and the problem that they create a little bit later in this video. The rest of the interior is pretty basic, but you do have a bunch of spools of yarn on the back wall, which I thought was a really fun touch. We can now move on to what I think is the worst of all the buildings in the set, the Carpenter's workshop. The exterior of it is alright and does a good job of breaking up the Tudor designs of the other 2 buildings that it's attached to, but it is just a bit plain looking to me. The roof is definitely not helping here. It just looks pretty unfinished when compared to the thatch styles of the rest of the set. You do get a slight taste of that thatch design with the grill parts and the claw pieces, but it just isn't quite enough and looks pretty sloppy, to be honest with you. I have an idea to quote unquote fix some of my issues with the design of the set, so if you'd like to see that, please let me know in the comments below. If we take a look at the inside, we do have a really cool crane system, and the second floor has some really nice details in the random planks of wood and the wheel tucked away in the corner. I also really appreciate this foldable ladder so that the minifigure can physically access all the floors. That attention to detail is something that I love to see in builds. But other than that, again, the inside is just kind of plain compared to the other buildings coming up soon. Finally, the last little detail I'd like to mention is this cobblestone entrance and these torches. The build for the torches is pretty clever and one that I'm going to keep in mind for my own mocks. The entrance of this build is honestly honestly the best part of it. You've got a stickered tile to show the Carpenter's workshop, and again, that cobblestone flooring looks really nice, and you'll see that on pretty much all of the town's front steps going forward. The last building here is the Cheesemaker's Farmhouse. Starting with the exterior, you'll see that it has the same roof design as the Carpenters, but in dark tan this time. Again, I'm just not a fan of this design, but thankfully the rest of the house looks fantastic. The tan and reddish brown Tudor walls is a classic look that the original medieval market village had, so I'm glad to see it here again. It is a great homage to that set. It's just done so neatly with the snot technique and was super fun to see come together during the build. It's also a super easy one to replicate yourself in your own builds. I also love that the windowsills have some flowers on them and even a bee on this one. The backyard and the fence look properly cobbled together, which I guess is very in the medieval spirit. You get a lot of room here that should have come with some chickens or pigs to go along with the goat, but I guess it is what it is. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this half door is actually a new mold for the set, but again, I'm not quite sure. Even so, I love this, and I'm glad they just didn't go with another full door here. It really helps add into that farmhouse look. To take a look at the inside, we can open it up on a hinge, and we can also remove the roof, which is super helpful. Now, as much as I dislike this roof's design, it is built really strong and has given me some ideas for my own roof designs in the future. Inside, we have a nice stonework pattern on the floor with a chair from the Carpenter's workshop. You've also got a bucket of goat's milk and a kitten trying to steal some of it. We've got a counter just filled with different cheeses and even some more cheese tucked away up on the shelf, with more still simmering over on the stove. One of the last things I'd like to mention about this building is the new door mold. It is somewhat similar to the classic rounded one that we saw in the Carpenter's workshop, but is square and fits a different size of window lattice. This is a great new piece, and I'm excited to see it come to Pick-a-Brick later this year. Okay, so now that we're done with these buildings, let's briefly take a look at some of these side builds before we talk about the other buildings in the set. We have this little shield stand that is holding the new Lion Queen shield. The print is really ornate and honestly matches the Lion Queen perfectly. The little logging build is a bit of a throw-in, I guess, but it goes nicely with the Carpenter. This wagon also feels a bit confusing here because we don't have a horse in this set, so I don't know who they think is carrying this around. The cheese stand, though, I absolutely love. It's got a very nice variety of cheeses and even a couple of pastries as well. It's in the same style as the market stall from the Lion Knight's Castle, but this one has some slightly different colors. Again, I love that they're continuing with the style from the Lion Knight's Castle in this set. You'll see more of that style in the Watchtower in a little bit. The largest of all the side builds is this tree that also looks kind of questionable. The use of Ninjago dragon horns is pretty clever, but I'm not quite sure it works on this small of a tree. I could definitely see it working on a larger tree design, but it just looks a bit out of place here. Odd looking tree aside, we do get some cool Easter eggs on the sticker tiles on the tree, with a poster referencing the wolf pack and a very cheeky poster showing the discounted goat for sale, not so subtly poking fun at the obscene aftermarket price that the goat had before the new one came out. On the other side, we've got a poster warning of Basil the Bat Lord. It is seriously such a shame that this isn't a printed tile because I just love this design so much. You can actually see that it's depicting the new modern Basil from CMF Series 25, which I think was a great choice. So the side builds are kind of a miss for me personally, apart from the cheese stall, so let's move on to the last section of the set, the Watchtower and the Broken Axes Inn. We'll start with the Broken Axes Inn first. The olive and dark tan color scheme is a really tough sell for a lot of people, me included. The dark tan blends in too much with the olive and honestly looks really undefined. I plan on replacing all of the dark tan pieces to brown because I feel like that would look a million times better. I'd love to do a fixing the medieval town square video, so please let me know if you'd like to see that. Apart from the very odd color choice, I actually really love how this building looks. It's got a very sharp look to it, and the small details all throughout the exterior walls look great. The pie on the windowsill is definitely a favorite of mine, and so is the Broken Axes sign hung above the entrance. Again, you'll see more of that cobblestone design that looks nice and homey. If you made a mock surrounding this set, I think extending out that cobblestone pathway to connect all of the buildings together would look really sick. We of course have got another stickered flag here in the inn that looks good but absolutely should have been a print. If we move around to the inside of the inn, we have what in my opinion is the best looking interiors in the whole set. The bottom floor is the main room of the inn with a ton of fun details like a chessboard, a keg, and a lute. The second floor is home to the kitchen, which is just jam-packed with even more accessories and details. I love that the wood-burning stove is openable, and you can even throw in one of the wooden logs next to it inside. That is such a fun play feature that the vast majority of people who bought this set will never use. But I really appreciate stuff like that, so kudos to the designer. They did a great job here. We of course also have a bunch of food items strewn across the counter, like some fresh bread, a crab, and the new turkey mold that came out just last year. It's basically the same as the old one, but has some slight differences like here on the feather details. Moving up to the third floor, we have a room that the tax collector is staying in. Nothing very special here, but we do have a letter with a Dragon Knight seal on it. There are actually 3 of these letters all throughout the set. The Dragon Knight one that we just saw, a Black Falcon one in the next room that we'll take a look at here in a second, and a final one which I think is a lion seal in the Carpenter's workshop. Again, it really blows that all of these are stickered instead of prints. The only other detail of note in this room is the little sword on the wall that you can actually pull to reveal the hidden stash that the tax collector is using to pocket some of the taxes for himself. I love that they made this tax collector a bit of a skeevy scumbag. It's very fun. Now for the other side of the building, let's move back around to the outside. This section of the build is very obviously a reference to the classic Guarded Inn set from Classic Castle. The red colored walls and castle tower are a direct homage to that set, and I am so happy that they did that. The red and black Tudor walls look awesome and bring in some nice color to an otherwise pretty dull color palette. We get a little tree growing here on the side of the Watchtower with a nice beard piece to represent a bird's nest, which I thought was such a fun idea. The Watchtower is in the same style and scale as the Lion Knight's castle, which I am so glad that they did, as it makes it look really clean next to the actual castle itself. I'll show you how the two sets look together here in a little bit. Now, something that I haven't seen anyone else really mention is that they actually threw in a few dark gray pieces into the stonework, which ever so slightly deviates from the plain light gray walls of the Lion Knight's castle. And it looks fine here, but I definitely prefer the monotone look of the castle compared to this. Around the side of the tower, we've got a sign for the shield painter that keeps in the same style as the other stickered flags, and you also have a very tight staircase that leads up to the Watchtower and the interior of the Lion Knight Sergeant's room. The room has a bed in the same style as the last one and also has a letter with a Black Falcon crest. The inside of the Watchtower is pretty bare, but we do get a nice little sleeping bat on the inside of the second level. The last interior space we have is the Shield Painter's workshop, which has paint splattered all across the floor along with some different tools for mixing paints, and the smithing equipment to make some shields. The best detail in this room though has to be the stickered tile that is a direct reference to another classic castle box art, this time for the Royal Knights. Now the Royal Knights are easily one of my most hated castle factions, but I can't lie, this is an awesome little reference. But I really do hope that this is not hinting at us getting any Royal Knight remakes, because that is one sub-theme that should be left to die in the 90s. Oh, and of course you could also throw in the painter's stand here, because that's honestly where it should go anyways. So now that we've taken a look at all of the details in the set, let's talk about whether or not you should pick this set up. At $230, it is not a cheap set by any means, but with that being said, the price per piece is better than most sets you'll find nowadays, and the minifigure selection is really nice. However, the lack of new printed tiles and reliance on stickers is not good and definitely takes some points off. The pitiful animal selection is also going to hurt for anyone that doesn't already have a large collection of them, and some of the design choices like the roofs over here and the color scheme of the Broken Axe's Inn are going to put a lot of people off of the overall set's display value. But on the other hand, you have a building experience that is so fun, and the set comes together in a very satisfying way, similar to the experience of building the Lion Knight's castle or even some of the modular buildings. The interiors are also lovely and were probably my favorite things to put together in the whole set, especially in the farmhouse and the Broken Axe's Inn. They just had a ton of really fun small details that were a joy to put together. Another thing that I absolutely adore about this set is that it fits in nicely next to the Lion Knight's castle. They continued with the same design philosophy and it worked great. I have it set up like this for now, but you could display this in a ton of different configurations to fit your own shelf setup. So with all of that in mind, should you buy this set right now for $230? This might surprise you to hear me say, but probably not. While the price per piece is fantastic and the set looks awesome and comes with a bunch of cool new figs, I just don't think it's a good buy for the average LEGO fan. Sure, us castle fans are loving this set, but the set in my opinion just doesn't do quite enough to bring in new castle fans. The set is being marketed towards an adult audience. I mean, just look at the very boring 18+ black box art. LEGO made this set for adult fans of LEGO, but the set itself does not look like an adult collector display piece. It looks like a beefed up playset. And while I like that a lot, more casual LEGO fans that might pick up a set or two a year are going to be way more interested in more complex sets like those from the Architecture line or from the Ideas line. This set is just kind of a marketing failure in my opinion. When you market a set like this as an expensive premium display piece, the set itself needs to match that aesthetic. This set is more of a classic LEGO castle inspired set, so it should have been marketed as such. Putting it in the same yellow box art as the Lion Knight's castle would have done a lot to tell people what they were actually getting into when they buy the set. Now, it may sound like I hate this set based on what I just said, but I don't at all. I think this is an awesome set at a decent price considering its size, but I just fear that it doesn't do quite enough to sell itself to non-castle freaks like myself. Anyways, all that is to say that I would recommend this set, but please wait for double VIP points or a nice gift with purchase. I do not recommend anyone buy LEGO day one for full retail price, it just doesn't make any sense. The only reason I went out to buy this day one is so that I can make videos with it. Seriously, just wait to get a deal. I waited months to buy the Viking Village set just to get double VIP points and a GWP. Never fall for hype trains, your wallet will thank you. That's all I've got for you today. Please let me know what you think about the set in the comments below. Also, if you enjoyed this video, why not subscribe? Basically, all I make is LEGO Castle videos, so if you're into that, you'll probably like my other stuff. And as always, thank you so much for watching.